Marilyn Hawes is the Chief Executive of Freedom from Abuse, and Matthew Feeney is Head of Tech and Innovation at the Centre for Policy Studies. And we're going to have a debate, just a gentle debate between them, because grooming cases are at a record high amid the delay to the online safety bill. And tens of thousands of online grooming crimes have been recorded during that wait, and campaigners like Marilyn are urging tech companies and MPs to back the bill and are calling for no more hold-ups. But there are concerns that I think Matthew is going to tell us about, just in regard to freedom of expression, what the bill actually does, whether it's fit for purpose, because there are some workarounds in terms of what it prevents you, or what the technology may well prevent you from doing. Marilyn and Matthew, thank you both very much indeed for being here this afternoon. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Very well, thank you.
Great stuff. Marilyn, maybe I can talk to you first. You've been an indefatigable campaigner on this for a long time, on many other associated issues. Why do you think it's so important just to get on with this and get it done?
Well, because we've got to protect the children. We've got to prevent. I mean, it was never invented. I think that's the problem. The internet was never invented for children as a platform to communicate and play with games and stuff like that. So there's your first issue. But the ongoing argument, which I think, will be argued against me, is the end-to-end encryption that protects privacy. Now, if you have end-to-end encryption, the sender and the receiver are the only people that see it. Now, if youngsters, and they do, go on WhatsApp, go on Signal, go on Wire, it's encrypted. And if they are then infiltrated by an offender, the police can't track it back. Now, the online safety bill has been dragging its feet for 6 years. It must be out of date nearly every week. We're getting into this because technology is moving at such a rate that I don't think you can have a binary choice. What are you putting first? Privacy or child safety? Now, aside of this, I feel very passionate about parents that are not stepping up and making their inroad here as well. The number of parents we try to talk to, but you try and get them to come to any free online training program so that they are aware of what is going on online and the hidden harms. They're not aware of how clever the perpetrators are at disguising their appearance, using voice distorters. If they knew what their 5- and 7-year-olds are doing in their bedrooms, on their beds, of sexual performances, on live streaming, which can't be traced, the parents would have an absolute pass out. They'd need an ambulance. But what they're doing, by not getting these devices out the bedroom, by not monitoring the children, why does a 7-year-old need a smartphone? They are allowing perpetrators through their back door virtually. So aside of the online safety bill, parents need to take accountability for the devices they buy these children. And I'm passionate about this.
You absolutely are. It's very clear. I absolutely agree with you on parents. I wouldn't give a smartphone to any child, quite frankly, although I'm maybe a bit too militant on that, I don't know. Matthew Feeney, it's interesting because even Marilyn was saying there the legislation has been sitting around for some time. Will it ever be up to date with how the technology actually works? And what are your fears around all this? Tell us your side.
Yeah, well, it is very difficult to keep legislation like this up to date because the internet is an infrastructure that is constantly changing, and the platforms on which people choose to shop, to speak, change depending on different trends. I think years and years ago we'd be talking about Facebook, but I think if you talk to young people about Facebook these days, they give you a sigh and a bit of an eye roll. The issue with this bill, I think, is that it's very, very ambitious. It is hundreds of pages long. It is trying to do a lot. I know we're focusing today on safety for children, but it deals with fraudulent advertising. There are special provisions for pornography. It's massive. And part of the problem is that it is casting a very wide net. It is going to encompass much more than big tech. It will encompass tens of thousands of businesses and firms and organizations, including charities, education institutions, and others, and putting very difficult regime in place, which will encourage over-moderation of content. I think what a lot of proponents of the bill oftentimes overlook is that the harm of content is not so much the harm of the content per se, but the context in which it is discussed. And I worry that a lot of helpful and valuable content will be taken down as firms, after the passage of the bill, embrace an abundance of caution.
Just break that down. Sorry to interrupt you, Matthew. Just break that down slightly for me. I'm not entirely sure I understand your point. You said the context of the information is important. Tell us, just break that down a little bit. Explain that a bit more to me, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So, for example, a video of someone being bullied at school recorded on a mobile phone, uploaded by the bully, intended to humiliate the victim, is treated in one way, but if the anti-bullying charity uploads the exact same video to highlight the kind of harm they are campaigning against, that will be treated differently by many online firms. And in an environment where there are billions of pieces of content being uploaded every day, firms that are handling this content under the online safety bill will have an incentive to act in an abundance of caution and take down a lot of valuable content. Now, there is content that is illegal by definition, and a lot of the grooming cases we're talking about here, that falls into that category where I think there are more of the privacy concerns that Marilyn highlighted. But I think for perfectly legal speech, there's reasons to be worried too.
Okay, so reasons to be worried there. I mean, you're coming at this from slightly different angles, but nonetheless, Matthew is right, is he not, Marilyn, in terms of saying that this will be overzealously implemented?
Yes, because at the end of the day, this internet was never invented for youngsters. It was an adult platform. It was always going to be a problem. I don't understand, and maybe Matthew can answer me this one. Why can't the tech companies do something about the algorithms? Why can't they change so the number of children that are being harmed when they Google certain stuff? So maybe they're looking at self-harming. Their friend is cutting themselves or something. So they start looking at self-harming. And after 2 or 3 goes at looking at that, the algorithm thinks, oh, this person's definitely interested. These are harmful things. They are not remotely helpful. Look what happened to the sad case of Molly Russell. And the people were, subpoenaed from America to come over from Meta to talk about that. Those are the things that got to be stopping as well.
Let's ask Matthew.
It can't be beyond the wit of man to surely change the algorithms, can it?
Well, Matthew, what do you make of that point? Is that a reasonable point from Marilyn?
Well, I don't think it's realistic to expect that children can be kept off every new communication infrastructure. We couldn't keep children from books, radio, or television. I don't think we'll keep them off the internet. Now, it is true that a lot of the most prominent household names firms do use algorithms to recommend content. In order for them to ensure that children don't access certain content, they're going to need more information about who's on the network. And some might argue that that's an argument in favor of giving up privacy for that information. But also, again, I want to refer to the context. So it is true that someone might be searching for self-harm content in order to look up ways to actually do that to themselves. But it might be the case, not just with self-harm, but for something like sexual abuse, that they are looking for help. And when you're thinking about the billions of people on the internet, it's very, very difficult for online firms to ensure.
Matthew's got a point there, Marilyn, doesn't he? In that the technology will just innovate and the law can't keep up with how quickly technology innovates. Just a final word from Marilyn.
I absolutely agree, which is why the online safety bill is dragging its feet. Will it ever get born? I doubt it very much. Are they looking for the Rolls-Royce version? Well, that ain't going to happen, is it? You cannot get away from the fact that parents, and I've done this for 20 years, and when I started this, the internet wasn't even in existence, and I get so frustrated with parents that just will not even put parental locks on. Everything is hackable, but they don't even protect Alexa properly. I've known 6-year-olds that have been groomed on Alexa, and the parent, I don't know what's happened to parenting. I really don't.
I think it's terrifying, Marilyn, but I also think it's kind of terrifying to be a parent in terms of what's out there. But
I totally agree.
One solution is perhaps,
honestly, I worry for my grandchildren.
Yeah.
My lot escaped all that, and I'm really pleased.
I have a nephew who is 10, and I worry about him as well. Marilyn and Matthew, thank you both very, very much indeed. I think we could talk about this all day.